everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I've been purchasing luxury items for a few years at this point, and I'd be totally lying to you guys if I were to say that I've never made a single mistake in my luxury purchases thus far. Of course, I've made multiple mistakes. I have a video talking about my worst luxury purchases of all time. I have other videos going into detail about items that I don't think you should spend your money on and what you should buy instead. So for this video, I wanted to round up the lessons that I have learned luxury shopping these past couple of years, and I really hope that this is helpful for you guys and it'll help you make the best decisions when you go to buy something new, whether it's luxury or not. I think a lot of these tips will also apply if you're buying something that is not in the thousands of dollars too. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video and let's get into it. Now, the first lesson that I wanted to kind of get out of the way first, because it kind of sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but one lesson that I have learned is that I will probably continue to make mistakes going forward. I mean, of course, it's going to be less and less the more that I learn about my style and what I really get use out of, but I think it's important to understand that, especially on your first try, you might not get things right. I think that before you start buying luxury items, you kind of have to be okay with potentially losing a large chunk of money. So I do have another video that is kind of similar to this one, but that video focuses on smart ways to navigate the luxury shopping experience, and I talk about the steps that I take and what goes through my head when I'm making a new luxury purchase. If you're interested in that video, I'll have it linked up here for you to watch next. So I don't want to repeat the things that I said in that video, but there are 2 points that I wanted to mention in this video that I think could also slot pretty nicely into that video too. So the second lesson on this list is when I'm buying something from an international or overseas website, I need to be certain that, one, I can return the item if it doesn't fit or I don't like it for whatever reason. And two, if I do return it, I need to get my customs or duties returned to me, and it wouldn't be kind of like a store credit on their website, or worse yet, it just gets lost forever. So I learned this lesson when I bought this really gorgeous self-portrait dress from Matches Fashion a few years ago. I knew when I bought it that I could return it, but I didn't know about that part about the customs and duties. So when the dress came, the sleeves were too long. I think everything else fit except the sleeves were too long. So I actually ended up spending like $100 extra to get the sleeves tailored. I just didn't want to go through the whole process of returning the dress, buying something new with a gift voucher, and then having to do it all over again. So that was the last time that I ever ordered from Matches Fashion. And lesson number 3 is don't get sucked into promo codes that offer you a free gift with purchase that is worth whatever high amount of money, like a $200 value gift with purchase or $500. Usually I kind of feel like the company is trying to pass off to the customer the items that they can't really sell on its own, and they're just trying to get rid of stock to make room for newer items. And it can be easy to fall into this trap because it's a marketing thing, right? The company will obviously phrase it as, this free gift is worth $250, and if you're buying a $1,000 bag, then you're really paying $750 for your bag. But in reality, you're paying $1,000 for your bag and a piece of junk. Lesson number 4 was a light bulb moment for me recently because I was rewatching my first ever video on YouTube. If you want to know why I was rewatching that video, then stay tuned for Saturday's video. But basically I said something along the lines of, I really wanted this bag in black suede a few years ago, but I missed out on it. So when I saw that they came out with the same exact bag in black suede, and the only difference was this one had these metallic lines running through it, I was happy to get this bag because it was similar enough. And if I could go back in time, I would tell myself that I should not be buying something when I wanted it to be something else. And the 5th lesson on this list is not everything that I own has to be luxury. So you might be listening to this and thinking, well, no duh. But I think in general, people kind of understand that you can buy affordable clothing and style it up with a luxury handbag or a pair of shoes or a belt. But I don't know why, I kind of get the sense that People think that if you like luxury handbags and shoes and that type of thing, then you must also have a large collection of luxury makeup and skincare. And I've gotten questions to share my luxury makeup or skincare collection. And I'll be very honest with you, if I were to share a collection like that, I would have 3 items to share. So all I have now are 3 YSL lipsticks, and I honestly do truly love those lipsticks. But a few years ago, I kind of got into this bad habit of buying YSL lipsticks and Chanel lipsticks and stuff from Dior, and I was just collecting it because they look pretty, the packaging looked pretty, but the products were just okay. And the worst part is makeup and skincare does expire, so in a way that's even worse than buying like a trendy designer item. And the affordable makeup and skincare that I use nowadays is actually even better than all of the luxury branded items that I used to buy. So some people might not like buying designer shoes, for example, because you're walking on the ground in them and it obviously gets dirty. So yeah, everyone has their own thing, and you can like luxury jewelry without having a single luxury handbag. So my mom is that type of person where she loves buying jewelry, but she will never understand how I spend so much money on a handbag. I've mentioned multiple times on my channel that I will like an item but not have the want to or the urge to add that piece to my collection. I always say that I'll just admire it from afar, and I think this is especially true for designer clothing or ready to wear. A lot of the times they are bolder and more intricate, and that makes it harder to wear on a day-to-day basis. So personally, I love the dresses and designs from Zimmermann and Self Portrait. And a few years back, I bought 2 Zimmermann dresses and 2 Self Portrait dresses. But since then, I haven't bought any from either brands in probably over 2 years, because I've realized that for the price tag, it wasn't worth it because I wasn't wearing these dresses enough. It makes more sense for me to look towards more affordable retailers or brands to get a similar look. So I'll give you guys a few examples of companies that sell very similar designs to Zimmermann and Self Portrait. So at Nordstrom, they sell clothing from this brand called Ever New, and I've noticed that a lot of their designs look very similar to the very floral Zimmermann dresses. They also can look similar to Love Shack Fancy too, so that's another little dupe if that's what you're interested in. As for Self Portrait, if you kind of look out for it at Zara or H&M, I find that they can sometimes come out with very similar designs. And also there's this one specific dress that Self Portrait makes that this brand called ASTR, the label, it's sold at Nordstrom. They also make a design that looks so similar to the Self Portrait one, and they also have it in a multitude of colors. Lesson number 7 is once again about clothing, and this lesson is just because a piece of clothing is designer or has some fancy high-end tag on it doesn't mean that the materials are better. So for example, a few years ago I bought a few sweaters from Ganni, and most of the composition of the sweater was wool, and oh my god, it was the scratchiest sweater that I ever put on. I couldn't even keep it on for more than like 10 seconds. I had to immediately take it off, and I could just feel my skin being so irritated even after that. And on the same note, there are so many designer clothing pieces that are made out of polyester rather than silk. So for example, I've seen a lot of dresses that I do think look really nice from Tory Burch. The thing is, it's made out of polyester, and considering that they're charging like $500 for a single piece of clothing, they should not be using the same materials as a company that is charging $50 for a similar design also uses. Lesson number 8 is another one of those that seems so obvious, and now that I think about it, I have no idea why I didn't realize this much sooner, because I could have saved myself a lot of money. So the lesson is, if I wouldn't spend $20 on a similar item in the same type of category, it shouldn't matter if then the similar piece is designer branded and costs a few $100s more. I really shouldn't then start liking it just because it's from Dior or something like that. And I say Dior because the thing that comes to mind immediately is costume jewelry, and I never ever bought costume jewelry prior to buying my one single piece of costume jewelry from Dior, and it is my Dior tribal earrings. And another thing that comes to mind is all of my Hermes scarves. So I don't wear scarves, silk scarves specifically, at all. I had a few in the past that I bought as a souvenir and I never wore them. And I don't know why I got sucked into the world of Hermes scarves. I kind of feel like if it wasn't from Hermes and there was no kind of history behind it, I would not have given it a second look. So yeah, shouldn't have bought those. And this was a lesson that I wish I had learned much earlier for sure. When I first started buying luxury items, I was fascinated by how much there was out there, and essentially if I liked an item enough and I had the money for it, I would just buy it, and that was such an irresponsible thing to do. So basically I didn't give myself enough time between each purchase to, first of all, get enough use out of those items, and more importantly, I didn't give myself time to actually realize that some of these things just do not work for me. So I would accumulate multiples of a certain item, and then after 3 or 4 of these same items, I would realize, yeah, that was not a good choice. So this happened, one, with my Hermes scarves, it happened with some shoes, and if you watched my video where I talk about items that I have multiples of in my collection and whether I think I should have bought multiples of them, I'll leave that video up here if you're interested. But you'll see in that video that most of those things that I have multiples of were not good purchases whatsoever. And it's kind of funny because the items that I only have like one of in my collection, those are the things that I wish I had bought more of. And I think that this lesson is really important for me to mention because personally, when I was first starting out my luxury collection, the idea of unboxing something new was very fun and exciting, and I can totally see why something like that could easily spiral out of control, but you definitely do not want to get yourself into credit card debt to buy luxury items. And another thing is I kind of had the fear of missing out, so I didn't want something to sell out, especially shoes. That was like the worst offender for me because I have a pretty common shoe size. So I had this fear of missing out on certain items, but honestly, no one needs luxury items to begin with, and certainly you don't need so much that it barely fits into your closet. And that leads me to my 10th and final lesson, which is I should have kept the boxes from my luxury purchases. And this definitely did not occur to me when I was buying these items because when I buy something, I do intend on keeping it forever. But recently, when I was letting go of some of my luxury items, it finally dawned on me that the boxes really matter to some people, and if you don't have the box, they would not buy it. Of course, you can look for a different buyer, but you know, it's just better to have the boxes. And I mentioned the whole thing about running out of closet space because before I moved to where I live now, I used to live in a studio apartment in Manhattan in New York City. So as you can imagine, closet space was very limited there. And when I first started buying luxury items, like I mentioned, everything was new and exciting to me. So I kept everything, not just the box, but the bags, ribbons, bowls, everything like that. I kept all of it, but eventually all that stuff could not fit in that apartment. So when I bought something new, I had to throw out an old box. And by the time I moved here, I basically did not have any boxes to take with me. So yeah, that's kind of a lesson that I didn't think I would ever learn, but I had to mention it in this video. Plus, it's a good way to lead me into a question I have for you guys. Would you like me to do kind of like a general video about reselling your luxury items? So any kind of lessons I learned regarding that or tips and tricks, let me know down in the comments down below and I'll definitely do a video like that for you guys. And yeah, this is the end of this video where I talk about lessons I've learned about purchasing luxury items. I hope this was informative to you guys. Maybe you learned something and something clicked in your head that you didn't previously think of. So if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for new videos every single week. And I'll leave 2 videos up on the screen for you to watch next. So I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.